I've been on a quest to rebuild my GameCube collection, and wow, things are starting to pick up. The Nintendo GameCube harked in a new era for Nintendo gamers. With titles such as Luigi's Mansion and Super Smash Bros., it was primed to be a beloved console for generations to come. For me growing up, the Nintendo GameCube was one of the big consoles of my childhood. I didn't have the era of Super Nintendo. I had a full childhood full of N64, but GameCube came at an era where a lot of people I know deemed Nintendo as kiddie and moved on to other pastures. And I did the same thing. I moved on to PlayStation and PlayStation 2. And I'm going to be honest, the PlayStation 2 is a fantastic console. It is filled with fantastic titles such as Grand Theft Auto, Gran Turismo, Suikoden 5, Dark Cloud, Final Fantasy, and many others. However, as time has gone on, I found myself going back to the GameCube time and time again, whereas my PlayStation 2, I've never really returned to it. We'll look at that soon. But the GameCube came at a little bit of a later era for me. It was out for about a year and I got one for cheap. And with that I got Super Smash Bros. And Luigi's Mansion. And over time I started buying some of the greats. I got Mario Sunshine. I was so hyped for the Wind Waker. I picked up rare titles such as Fire Emblem, Pokémon Colosseum, Pokémon XD, and many others that would be beloved for the future for me. And you know what I think helped a lot was the controller. This controller still remains one of my all-time favourite controllers, to the point that this controller itself is the one that I got with the GameCube and has worn excessively. I need to get a new controller. Sorry. While the Xbox and PlayStation had their own controllers, I just don't know, I just don't like this feeling, and it's not a comfortable controller for me. But the GameCube always was a great console. However, years ago, I binned a lot of boxes, thinking I'll keep the discs, I'm never going to sell the discs, I'll bin the boxes. A lot of those games ended up being hard to find or expensive on the aftermarket. So I've been trying to rebuild the collection by buying boxed only titles, by buying cases, by buying stuff in bundles and selling them on, or having to just outright rebuy them. Let's have a look and see what I've been picking up over the last few months. Near the start of the launch, Nintendo released a new IP, and that IP is one that has gone to be an absolute beloved franchise for them. Pikmin. Now, Pikmin, I had Pikmin 1 and 2 on the GameCube and on the Wii, and now on the Nintendo Switch. I've picked them up time and time again, and I think I kind of looked at them and was just like, you know what, I've got them on the Wii, I don't need them on the GameCube, at least the boxes, I'll bin the boxes. Big mistake. Pikmin 2 is one of the more harder boxes to get. It's going to be an awkward one. But Pikmin 1 is one that does frequently pop up time and time again, and honestly, I just picked this one up blind. It was about £7, you know, at the end of the day, £7 for a box. Comes with the manual, and the game is nice and secure in here again. Pikmin is an absolutely beloved title for me. It's, I don't know, there's just something just so fun about controlling a little tiny guy with a little tiny army of flower monsters and going around menacing people while collecting parts for your spaceship, otherwise you're gonna die. It's a really fun and vibrant game, and there's a lot of really fun moments to it, and honestly, Pikmin 4 has been one of my favourite games on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is another essential title for the GameCube, and that one is, well, it's a bit of a controversial one because it's Super Mario Sunshine. Now, Super Mario 64 is one of the greatest games of all time and ushered in a new era of 64-bit 3D gaming. It made Mario jump from the leap of a fantastic series in 2D to a fantastic series in 3D. And while a lot of other 2D titles, 2D platformers really struggled with the transition into 3D, Mario worked and did it well. However, To me, Mario Sunshine was a bit of a weird sidestep, and this is why I feel like the GameCube is a little bit of a dark sheep in terms of things. We've got a Luigi game on, he's haunting ghosts, he's busting ghosts, and Mario, well, he's cleaning things. Yep, Mario Sunshine has Mario put in prison after a mysterious Mario-like figure defiles Isle Delfino, a beautiful tropical island with gunk and paint, and you as Mario with FLUDD need to not only clean up the town, clean up the island, but you also have to collect the shine sprites to make the sunlight come back. Mario Sunshine is incredibly difficult at parts, and honestly it's one of those ones that I honestly just never finished. I think I beat the final boss, but I never got all of the shine sprites, and I have went back to this one time and time again and just never getting a really good vibe into it. It's one that, personally, out of the 3D Marios, it's my least favourite one. But, like a Zelda, a bad Mario game isn't necessarily truly bad. It's just kind of underwhelming, or, yeah, not too great. But a lot of people love this one. This one, again, this one pops up all the time because it was a huge title. I got it for next to nothing, with the manual as well. I was trying to get them without manuals, but I was just like, you know what, spare your manual here and there, can't complain. Next up is one that I picked up at Doorway to Darkness, and yeah, when I went to Doorway to Darkness, I wanted to get a GameCube game, but their selection was decent, but they didn't have any of the big hitters. But I picked up Medal of Honor Rising Sun. Now, this is often touted as the beginning of the end of the Medal of Honor franchise, and if I'm perfectly honest, the one I have the nostalgia for is Frontline, which is one I do need to pick up. However, as soon as I started picking up GameCube games, despite Frontline being a game that I would see all the time, I never see it anymore. So yeah, in the meantime, I've got Rising Sun. We're going to enjoy that one. Now, story time for this next one. This is a franchise I don't really have nostalgia for, if I'm honest. And it's going to come as a shock to you guys. It is Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, I owned Sonic Mega Collection back in the day, and it was one that I binned the box for. But I managed to find a bundle on eBay for not only Sonic Mega Collection, but Sonic Heroes and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. So that means I think I've got 2 more Sonic games to get for a full set. Now, I'm going to be honest, I've played Mega Collection and I love the original Sonic games. But once it goes into 3D, that's where it loses me. I know Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is absolutely beloved, I just didn't have the nostalgia for it. I'm not a Sonic fan, so I don't really love it. So what's the story about this one? Well, it turned out that this one had a little bit of a crack. So I managed to get all 3, I think it was about £30 or something. And they came, had a bit of a crack, so I was just like, oh, you know what, it's not the end of the world. I'm not looking for perfection. And we'll talk about something in the near future about what we can do. However, when it turned up, the box for Mega Collection was absolutely destroyed. And I mean destroyed. Which was a huge shame, so I had to contact the seller and he was like, oh, you know what, it is what it is, and give us a bit of a refund. So yeah, I ended up being pretty happy about it, because at the end of the day I was like, well, I'm going to have to replace the box. It was damaged, there was like a rip all the way up here. I did manage to purchase a replacement cover for the Platinum one, fortunately. And what did I do in terms of the box? Well, if you remember a while ago, I went to Sunderland CEX and I noticed they had titles such as The Incredibles and Finding Nemo. So what did I do? Bought Finding Nemo. Box smashed up. Box is not in good condition, but you know what it is? I was like, at the end of the day, I don't have Finding Nemo otherwise. And I'm like, well, if I ever want a full collection, I'm going to have to buy this game. So I'm kind of like, I was like, well, I get another game. I don't really care about the box for Finding Nemo. I'd rather have this go into Sonic Mega Collection, make that box look nice, and replace everything else. And what else did I find at the same time? Well, not at the same CX, on the same day though, someone was selling the regular boxed version for next to nothing. Like the regular box, I think this was like £3 for this, well, that's for the case. It wasn't including the disc. So yeah, I now have Sonic Mega Collection twice. But then I was thinking, I was like, you know what? Because one of the things is that I don't know if I'm going to try and go for a full set of GameCube. I think it's more or less impossible, but the option's still there to kind of have, and at the end of the day I can just sell off the platinum, or the player's choice version of them. I call them platinum because they look platinum, and I know it gets mixed up with PlayStation, but at the end of the day, very nice. 7 great hits of Sonic. A nice little collection. The next one is the most recent pickup, and I picked this one up at Galaxy Games Megastore. Now, this was one that I did have the disc for, and I binned the box. However, whenever I was looking for it, the box was always more expensive than I could find the game for. And I went to Newcastle one time, and the box for Worms 3D was absolutely minging, to the point that I had to wash my hands afterwards. But yeah, it's Worms 3D. I love this game. I love this franchise. In fact, if I had more of an opportunity to have a game collection, I would buy every single copy of Worms. I would get one of every single Worms game. Same with Theme Park. One of every version of Theme Park I would love to own. At the moment, space is a little bit tight, and if I'm considering the GameCube collection, it's probably not advised to start buying, you know, like Mega Drive versions of Worms and stuff like that. But yeah, it's one of those franchises I am on the lookout for. This was Worms' debut into 3D, and it kind of works, but it doesn't. I think it's one of those ones where I had this on the Xbox originally, and I've got a lot of nostalgia of playing it on the Xbox. But it's one of those ones where once I got rid of my Xbox, well, something happened with the Xbox, and I lost a lot of titles that I really liked. But yeah, we'll get into that, as that's another story. But yeah, this is one I always wanted to pick up. Like I said, I did have the disc, and I don't really understand why I had the disc, and I must have binned it, but yeah, I bought it again. Again, it's another one that I've got full, complete, and I've got another disc. I've got a spare disc now, haven't I? Brilliant. So, there's a title on GameCube that I think is really beloved, and it's a title that I loved growing up. However, I've never really had any kind of urge to go back to it, nor its sequel. And well, it's one that again I binned the box for, and it ended up being a very expensive one to pick up later on. This one does appear a lot more easier than the sequel to get a box for, and I got a decent one, again because of cracked case. Pokémon Colosseum. Now, this is the one that apparently would include the memory card. Official memory cards for GameCube seem to be incredibly difficult to find as well. I'm really struggling to find them. I want to start gaming on GameCube a lot more, but I just can't. I can't find my own memory cards. I've got one memory card which seems to have been deleted. All of the stuff has been deleted over time, but yeah. But yeah, Pokémon Colosseum, and this is a weird one because this is basically you play as, I think he's called Wes from like Team Snag'em, and you have like a mystical kind of arm where you can kind of catch other people's Pokemon, but it's a shadow Pokemon. So if you play Pokemon Go, you kind of know like Team Rocket have like the shadow Pokemon, which are kind of like P-end Pokemon, which you kind of over time you purify them by befriending them. This was basically Nintendo or Pokemon Company selling you the Johto Pokemon. At the time we had the Hoenn Pokemon, so we had, you know, like Kyogre, Groudon, Ruby, Sapphire. I don't believe Emerald was out at that point, so how could you get the Johto Pokemon? You had to get Pokemon Colosseum. That's right. They've always been up to these shenanigans for a long time. It's not just a recent thing with the Pokemon game. So yeah, This give you obviously the free beasts, and I think most of, if not all of the Johto Pokemon over the course of the game. And I think like if you did so many different things, you got Ho-Oh at the very end. And yeah, I enjoyed it first time. I think I played this maybe 2 or 3 times over the course of the years, but I've never really went back to it. I kind of would like to. I would like to go back to it because, yeah, I think the problem I've got is that I want to go back to Ruby and Sapphire and go through them, and then after I go through them, there's a reason to go back through there. I need a new. I've got Sapphire, but obviously that's my childhood one. I don't want to delete that. I've got Emerald. That's my childhood one. Don't want to delete that. I want to get a copy of Ruby, go through that, then go through Colosseum to replay it. But yeah, the box is damaged on this, so I'm going to be on the lookout for maybe like something cheap that I can kind of pick up. I'm not overly fussed about myself and can upgrade the box into it, but yeah, it was a nice little addition for it. I could also find fairly easily the version that has the words on, say, includes bonus disc, but of course you can't get the bonus disc. And if you guys know what's on the bonus disc for the Pokemon Colosseum UK PAL version, let me know, because there's a lot of conflicting advice. Some people say it's a Celebi, some people say it's Jirachi, some people say it's Pokemon Box. I don't know. So I want you guys to let me know what it is. So when I set out on this journey of trying to rebuy the boxes for the GameCube games that I binned all those years ago, there was one title that I knew was going to be the big one. The one title that I knew was going to be the make or break in terms of doing this. A title that the game itself is now £300, so the box alone commands a ridiculous price. And I got a decent deal. It's not an amazing deal, but this is a deal I looked on it and said, I kind of feel like I need to get this. Otherwise, this is going to be making... I was like, I'm never going to see this. And I was like, I'd rather spend this much money and pay for this to have this complete again. It's Pokemon XD. It was Pokemon... You knew it was going to be Pokemon XD. Pokemon XD... Well, it's a sequel to Pokemon Colosseum, and this one, the team Snag'em are back again. However, this time they have Lugia as their main kind of one, and you can get the 3 legendary birds, and you can get a lot of the Kanto Pokemon. I think at this time, Leaf Green and Red were out, so it wasn't kind of like a big hook compared to the first one. I only played this one once. I remember there was a big thing. Obviously, you could have Eevee as your like starter Pokemon, so you could have like the 3 different ones. Whereas last time it was Espeon and Umbreon. But yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't have the same nostalgia for this one as I do Colosseum, and I genuinely feel that while they are good experiences to play through, they're not nearly as good as nostalgia might make you remember. There's a lot of really good moments with these, but there's a lot of kind of like, oh yeah, this is kind of okay. I do prefer the kind of the going around the world and having to explore the world and go, you know, do the different gyms and stuff like that. Whereas this was very much felt more of a JRPG. I know Pokemon's a JRPG, but this felt even more of a JRPG. It's like, you know, going around different like kind of like caves, not like cave systems, like dungeon kind of layouts and stuff like that, and kind of, you know, like catching other people's Pokemon because you can't catch normal Pokemon. It felt very far different to a normal Pokemon experience. Not necessarily bad, but I genuinely don't think these are as good as a genuine normal Pokemon experience. But honestly, I paid about, I think it was about £75 plus shipping on this, and it's got the inserts in. So at the very worst, I mean, I've got the inserts, the manual already, so I can sell that. So yeah, this was always one that I said it was going to be very difficult to try and get, and it wasn't that it was difficult, it was just expensive. And yeah, I mean, this one is slightly cosmetically flawed. There's a few little things down here, but I was like, you know what, I've got complete. I can still take this to CEX and get whatever CEX is going to give me for Pokemon XD. Simple as that. I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with it. It's complete again. That was going to be the big one. So absolutely immense strides into regaining a GameCube collection, and well, not only regaining but also picking up for the future. The GameCube has a lot of great ports of PlayStation 2 and Xbox titles, but it also has a lot of unique titles that we haven't seen remakes of or ports onto new systems. There are a lot of titles that I missed out on that I would love to play, and there's a lot of shovelware as well. At this point, I don't want to commit and say I want a full GameCube collection, but I want to get the remaining titles that I'm missing in terms of good titles that I haven't got. So for example, Metal Gear Solid, Mario Tennis I think is one of them, Mario Strikers is one, and there's a few other titles that I would love to just kind of own on a GameCube as well. For example, Crazy Taxi. Don't have Crazy Taxi. I will someday buy that SSX Tricky that I've been seeing time and time again. And there's a few that I do need to get the cases for. Now, the big title now for me getting a case for is Animal Crossing, which is going to be a bit of an awkward one. Just because I think it's also another one that's fairly expensive. The other's Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion's a fairly common title, so I think that much like Mario Sunshine, it's just a kind of wane rather than, you know what I mean. There's Eternal Darkness, which I see all the time in CX's, so it might just be a case of just rebuying it and just selling the discs on. What's the other ones? The other ones are like more minor. Pikmin 2 I know is one, and that's a fairly expensive one. I'm saying fairly expensive, it's no more, like Pikmin 2 is no more expensive than it was when it first came out. It's just kind of expensive compared to a lot of other retro games. I can't remember what else there is. There's a few others that's kind of like, it is kind of like, it's not like Pokémon XD levels, there's just a few titles that's going to be more difficult. But yeah, I mean, I want to pick up some more of the rare titles. Obviously I've got stuff like Skies of Arcadia, I've got XD, I've got Fire Emblem, Medabots and stuff like that. I would love to get stuff like Gotcha Force, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not committing to a full set. I don't think I've got the I've got the space. I could probably fill up this entire cabinet just full of GameCube games. But as you can see, there's other stuff on there. There's an N64 collection which is getting very close to getting complete. I say very close, I've got another 80 games. That's close enough. But yeah, I'm running out of space, but I want to get more and more. The next thing is going to be memory cards, controllers, and just try to pick up a few titles here and there. Let me know what you guys have been picking up in terms of GameCube. What have you been playing? And let me know, is there any titles that you love and you think would be great in a collection that not everybody talks about? I would love to know. And if you enjoyed this, leave a like and consider subscribing. I'll see you there.